I had not felt the splash. I'd fallen into nothingness. Then a tunnel with a light at the end. What type of fucking cliche shit is this? What is it they say? Stay away from the light! Stay away from the light! Fuck this. Let's go see what the fucking light is. I shoot towards it. Well, I assume that it's me. Maybe Descartes would disagree. Welcome once again to Werewolf the Podcast, and this is your werewolf, Will. This is episode 126, and we're on part 15, and lots of shit's happened. If you go and see the previous parts of this series, read, listen, whatever, to the previous parts of this series, then you'll know what's happening. If you don't, then you won't, but this can stand alone by itself, I think. Go down to the description for loads of things about the podcast. There's brilliant authors down there. There is social media things. You can go to the Facebook group, which has now got lots and lots of people. And there's Twitter and Instagram and TikTok and all those wonderful things. Go check it out. And I hope you enjoy the program.
My love, you the devil. I would worship you instead of him. I have no time for confession, for I'm too busy committing sins. My love is something special. I've never met someone like you. You made me fall from heaven, but I know just what I do.
I wake up now, just falling. It takes a moment to know which way up I am and shit, but I'm definitely falling. I'm in a dark sky underlit by flames, smoke, clouds and embers pass by me as I fall. Other bodies fall around me, screaming as they tumble. Things flit past. I'm travelling too fast to know what the things are, but the things have wings and varying size from very small things to fuck off huge things. They're just black, dark, shadowy things with wings. They are not doing anything too much to disturb me except existing, so I make note of things as something of interest while I fall past the things. I change my focus to the people now who fall around me. They're all screaming and tumbling and out of control of any sort, mental or physical. I wish they would just calm the fuck down. They're making it difficult to appreciate the fall and all the new shit that is going on. I've taken up my arch position for a free-falling descent and stabilised my drop so I can focus on the new shit. I hate parachuting. You may remember that, but this is not that. It's got fuck all to do with the parachute in this case. I'm stark bollock naked for fuck's sake with nothing. I should be unable to see anything also. The air rushing past me should be kind of fucking up my vision without any eye protection, but everything's clear, which is cool. I like to see new and exciting places and the things I'm heading towards, and it's all very thrilling at first.
Down, down, down. Will the fall never come to an end? I wonder how many miles I've fallen this time.
Alice said aloud.
I must be getting somewhere near the center of the earth.
She decried. I smile at Alice's adventures down the rabbit hole. This seems, or feels, very similar, but there's no jars of marmalade or cupboards going past me as I fall, sadly. That would be a welcome distraction. I could do with a cup of tea, to be honest. I'm still falling. I must admit that I'm not really in any discomfort apart from my man parts whipping around in the passing air drafts. It's sort of pleasurable and not at the same time. I giggle childishly at the fluttering penis in the airstream, and then something strikes me. No, nothing physically strikes me. Something missing strikes me. Can something not there strike you? Well, in this case it did. There is something not right. Something is very not right. It hurts and bothers me like that itch you cannot reach, and then when you do, you can't fucking scratch it. You might be thinking about the situation I'm in, falling through a spooky, dark and portentous sky without a parachute or plane, surrounded by falling people and bat-type things is, well, it's not right, is it? I suppose it isn't right, but that I could cope with. The falling shit, I mean, because it was still going on, was okay. It was right. I mean, the initial shock of that was kind of done. The not rightness of the fall and those that surrounded me was gone. It was all now all right. That was kind of a long explanation. I couldn't see the ground, and I had been falling for a few minutes now. When I saw the floor, I would work on what to do about it when it happens. That was an issue for future Will to worry about. I remember, a good thing, I remember being told it was the sudden stop that killed you anyway, not the fall, which makes sense. And judging by the length of the time I'd fallen for already, there may be a chance that I would probably evolve fucking wings before I hit the ground. Is that how it works? I don't know. But something was not right. I reached out and there he wasn't. Fen was not here or there. I usually would be linked to his mind. Never mind at any distance or the situation. My best friend was always there, and now he wasn't. And then at a moment of utter fucking terror, I lost control of my fall, spinning and whirling until getting my shit together and berating myself for the moment of discombobulation. But he was gone. I was alone. I'd never been alone, ever, as far as I knew. There were only two reasons that he would have left me. He'd left me out of his own choice, his own volition. Very unlikely. Or I must be. Fuck, I must be dead. Shit. Fen! I start to pass through the pink clouds that are below me. Of course, they are pink because, yeah, another fucking cliche. The moisture suspended in the air is blood! Of course it fucking is. And it coats me when I pass through. Tastes good, to be honest. B positive, according to my palate. B positive blood, so I might as well be positive about this whole thing. Get it? That's like a play on words. Get it? Be positive. The blood probably wasn't B positive. Sorry for lying, but I just really wanted to make that joke. I can't really tell blood type, to be honest. I've tried. It just all tastes like blood to me. You know, nice. I might be racist here or something, though. Because Italian blood tastes the nicest, especially Italian women's. Don't know, maybe it's the Mediterranean diet or something. I have no idea. I don't think that's being racist, though, is it? I mean, it's only an opinion or maybe a preference. I don't kill Italians only and don't refuse blood from other countries. Nah, that's not racist, is it? Maybe you can get in contact with me and tell me if I'm racist or not. Perhaps I would be racist if I didn't like the blood of some other cultures. Oh shit, yeah, back to falling and the loss of Fen. That makes a lot of sense now. I must be dead. I'll deal with finding Fen once I've gotten through this nonsense. No, not that he was not my priority, he really was, but I figured out I had to not be dead to sort that problem out, and no one would kill me without my permission. I thought this world was all about, consent and shit. This shit would need to be sorted out. This falling shit, this dying shit, by whoever was in charge, wherever I was going. Oh, and perhaps now I could guess who was in charge. Wait till I meet them. I've got a few things to say to that bastard. Time goes on. People are screaming. Blood clouds pass. Batty things fly around and I'm still falling. To be honest, it's getting a bit dull. I pivot my way forward and take my head vertically down, bringing my arms and legs close to my body, increasing the speed of my fall. I need to get this falling thing out of the fucking way. I fly past more bodies and the batty cloud things. I fall for another few minutes in this position, but nothing of note is seen below apart from an orange backlit kind of cloudscape thingy. It reminds me of a sunrise I once saw during an Atlantic flight. It was proper beautiful, and so is this really. I bring myself back to an arched, stable position again to think. God, I wish these damn people would stop fucking screaming. God. God. Damned. Damned people. I don't think God, has fuck all to do with these damned folk. I'm so witty at times. I notice one of the falling people is within a few hundred yards, so I transfer my weight and move over to the spinning, screaming ball of humanness. It may give me, something to do while I wait. As I get close, I see an older woman, maybe in her 50s or early 60s, who's counting. She's spinning and flopping around in the air. She's making this falling business look quite exhausting, to be honest, and I'm sure she must be feeling pretty pukey. I fly in and grab her by the long flowing hair. She stops spinning and dangles in the fall before stabilising. I struggle to keep us both steady as she reaches for me with clawing, grasping fingers, asking for help and crying. Does she think that I can do anything for her?
Please, I'm so sorry, forgive me!
She pleads again. I'm pretty disgusted by this pleading nonsense. I'm nothing to do with this falling shit that is happening. I then realise that her eyes are wild and mad. Nothing remains of the person in there. I shake her by her hair and slap her face. She does go quiet, but there's still no one home. I grip her by the throat and strangle her. It makes me smile. She grabs my hands, trying to get them to let go, and then she just goes all floppy and dead. I could be accused of doing a kind thing, I suppose, putting her out of her misery and all, but I just wanted to shut her the fuck up, and killing her scratched an itch that, I've kind of mentioned before. Sadly, as soon as I let go of her throat, but I know this is unbelievable, she seems just to revitalise in a really disappointing quick manner. I thought about, squeezing again, but she started kicking and spitting at me now, so I push her off once again into the air and let her go again, spinning and screaming. Weird. They are all like that around me, spinning, screaming balls of cursing snot, except for one small boy of about 10 who seems to be sitting, as he falls, in the air cross-legged, biting his nails and giggling to himself. I float over to him and he sits cradling an eye that he has taken from his own head. Oof, that must have been painful. He chuckles again, then bites into his own eye, and it bursts in his mouth, putting fluid from its centre everywhere. And now through the chewing noises, he has a little giggle, a little laugh, and he eats it with obvious enjoyment. The hole in his head is very bloody and very cavernous. You can see that his fingers have been deep in there and ripped out a horrifying void. As soon as he finishes eating his eye and swallows the last bit with a satisfying gulp, his head rocks back like he'd been shot in it, and his face is all back to normal again. He giggles. The ragged gap is fixed and uninjured. The eye is moving, and with its counterpart it starts to stare at me, and the little boy smiles. Well, I decide that's something I don't want to get involved in, so I smile at him and drift off to the left, feeling a shiver go down my spine. See, I can be a sensible old thing at times, but I was still bored, so I again started looking around for something to do. I eventually have nothing better to do, so I aim at one of the big black batty things below. I'm going to aim to land on the fucker from high. I will either take it out or stop very suddenly. Either would be a better option than this dull shit of falling. Maybe it's a conscious being. Maybe I can give it hell. But at least it will stop this dull fall. As I get closer to the black shadow, I realise that the batty thing is translucent. It is a wee bit see-through, as they say in Scotland. When closer still, I realise it is a black cloud made up of dots of something just floating. As I hit it, I realise it's made of billions of densely packed blowflies. As I hit it, I realise that it was probably the wrong decision to fly into the flies at any speed. They splatter against me as I hit the edge of the cloud, and it feels as though the skin and flesh of the front of my body are being ripped away. Big flies are pretty tough little fuckers, and the chitin that their exoskeleton is made of is like sandpaper when rubbed on you at high speed, especially naked. The insects as they hit me are driven everywhere, and everywhere. I'm glad they're impacting the front of my body and not the back. Some are crushed the fly snot on me, and others land very irritated and half killed. I don't blame them that they're pissed off. Others enter my hair and armpits and yuck my crotch. I feel them tickle my taint. Not a nice feeling. A hard no from me, even with my love of so many kinky fetishes. I won't talk of what happened when they went beyond the taint. I don't think you really want to hear that. We just shouldn't. No, don't even imagine it. No, please. Their crushed and uncrushed living bodies coat me like a thick black oil coating. Yeah, I know what you're thinking. That's pretty gross. But it gets worse. Some find their way up my nose and into my ears and, well, everywhere. I crush my nostrils shut with a hand. I grip my mouth shut, but I can feel them pushing to enter it through my lips. A few force their way in, and I chew them. They taste kind of peppery. I start to tumble as I reflexively try to wipe them from my face. I feel one get below my eyelid and touch my eyeball. I have to say, it was one of the worst experiences I have ever had. Its legs are sharp and it skitters across the surface of my eyeball. It is irritating, but more disgusting than anything else. I really crunch my eyes closed hard, crushing my face forward in the hope that the thing will be killed by that. It still crawls across my eye surface. I have to punch a fist deep into it, driving the knuckles of my hand deeper and deeper into the orbit, squishing that motherfucker. It stops moving. I want to blink its body from its trap behind my eyelids, but if I do, that'll mean that I'll get more in there that'll join it. Then the splattering stops. It's over. I fucking hope I'm clear of this cloud. I can breathe again. I won't be going near one of those fucking big black batty things again. That was extremely unpleasant. No, unpleasant does not do it justice. It was... I can't think of how bad it was. I return to falling and enter the arch position once more, wiping the gooey gunk of the flies from my eyes so I can open them again. My closed, damaged left eye does not want to join my open right, and it fights to keep itself closed. I don't blame it. It has been pretty badly abused. I fall and fall and fall and fall and fall and fall, and then I fall asleep, and then I wake up, still falling. Then I pass through a massive blood cloud bank. After clearing my eyes again, this time of blood, which I didn't mind too much, I see the ground. Well, the ground-ish. Below is like a vast lava pool. I would go into great detail about its description, but it looked like the end scene from Mount Doom in Lord of the Rings movie, except on a much larger scale. Go watch it, Lord of the Rings is dead good. From this distance, I could see something large and organic at the centre of the giant pool of lava. I could not comprehend the scale of it yet, but as I fell, it became more and more apparent. As I continued to fall, I could see that it was massive, a massive living creature covered by sores and eruptions of stuff. What the stuff was, I'm pretty sure I could guess. As I fall further, I noticed what looks like bridges, thousands of them. They're all running from what I now recognise as a city at the centre, like at the centre of the lava pool, and the bridges run away like I suppose like spokes of a wheel. Yeah, it is a city where the buildings live and they move. They crush each other and fight each other and bite each other and then regrow. Fluvium, that's a good word, erupts here and there, and with pulses of it, it looks sickening like a rotting heart. The island city is massive and it's covered in, well, it looks like dots at first, and then I realise it's untold numbers of people, and what the things with a mixture of any body part from any creature at any scale. They seem to be doing horrible shit to each other and the people around them. Hieronymus Bosch appears to have been almost right, but seeing it in the living 3 dimensions was incredible. Maybe, I don't know, is it like I've caused this place to look like this because that's what I think it should look like because I've seen the pictures? Have I created this in from my head, or is it that poor old Mr. Bosch actually saw this real shit in his head? Fuck his life. The place is an intriguing headfuck, to say the least. It's so cool looking. Some of the things going on below I'd never thought of or comprehended were possible. Fuck! There's a living pair of scissors snipping people's parts off and leaving them alive where they fall in living bits. Cool. A putrid living greeny goo would then cover them from close eruptions, and suddenly they would spring out and be whole again, and then something else pretty fucking horrific would happen to them and repeat. It was incredible to see. I wish I could have made notes. I hope to live so that I could give some of that shit a go. Surrounding the city is a gigantic wall. It's built from what seems to be living humans. Are they living humans or are they living souls? They cry and moan as things crawl over them, dragging more of the building materials, the humans, and putting them into the construction. Tiny things to gigantic things. Push, prod, rip and tear the bodies to fit, but they don't die. Yeesh. I can't wait to take a closer look. This is so brutal. Brutal architecture at home is nothing on this brutal architecture. Below me is one of the bridges coming up to meet me at a great rate of knots. I position my body to fly towards it and notice it's made of people too. Wow. They've been kind of set together somehow. Again, humans are intermixed with those weird, the creature things. They're so difficult to describe because they're so amazingly different. The closer I get, the more incredible they look. They're amazing, and they shouldn't exist. Do they exist? Who the fuck knows? It's probably magic and bollocks. I brace myself for impacts against the human body soul things, and I hit hard. It's crazy though, because those bodies sort of absorb most of my inertia. I actually leave a deep crater in the bridge surface as the smashed bodies collapse to slow my fall. They're all screaming and there's blood and snot and bits and pieces, but I look at myself. I'm okay. That's okay then. My landing is pretty soft, to be honest. I thought I would be, all sorts of fucked up, but it seems that the people I hit took the worst of it. It's good, isn't it? I stand up and look around. People are everywhere, and the creaturey things are everywhere too. 3 of the creaturey things move, ooze, fly, and do other perambulating things towards the crater that I step out of. Sorry, I can't be more descriptive of things, but they're so built of so many parts of living or dead, inorganic and organic and other things. I know and don't know what they would, they take paragraphs just to describe one of them. The 3 things look at the crater in the ground and then at me. They look with something, heads and bits and I think. They weren't like proper heads, they were all bits of people and stuff mixed up, but they looked at me, I think, and then loads of stuff happened at once. A large herd of skittering smaller creatures grabbed a human soul close by the hole, dragging it to the ground as it voiced its protestations. They'd climbed all over the man. I mean, these weird little creatures were like spiderish, but of all sizes, and took him down, very roughly. They were not fucking about and quickly ripped him to pieces with teeth and claws and snippers and pincers and sharp bits of themselves. One of them seemed to have built-in chitin-like blades that sawed through the lower leg as I watched. It got through the bone and everything so quickly, and do you know how that's so hard to do? It's pretty impressive. Blood pooled, but the soul did not die. He still lived as he was all cut up into smaller pieces. He was still remonstrating. Honestly, it was just amazing, so interesting. As the bits of him screamed, it was packed into the hole by 2 of the larger horrors. Then another monster came from nowhere, which looked like a huge bladder stuck to its, it was like a crayfish body, and it vomited through one of its fish heads, faces, mouth things, and covered all the parts in the crater. Other things made up of bits of bodies about the size of a hand and coincidentally mostly made up of parts of hands and feet now stitched another human that had just been thrown over the vomited pit by a gigantic gorilla bull tomato VW beetle thing. The woman that they'd got was kind of stretched like almost like a rubber cloth over the gaps, and she screams and writhes as they hold her and nail her down and sew her down, and yeah, just basically... We could do with some of these little fucking things fixing our roads. They were fantastic workers. I smile at the thought of one of them holding a stop sign in its hard hat and then notes the creature's shudder. It's only at this point that the noise becomes apparent. It rolls over me like an auditory wave. It is beyond anything that is, well, loud. The sounds within it are all the results of, I suppose, the horrors enacted upon the people. It sounds... well, it's thrilling, to be honest. You should hear it. Every agony that I can remember that I've ever done on a human being can be found somewhere within that cacophony. Again, just shivers. Another human hits the ground from a fall close to me and is quickly pulled to the ground by the creatures and the very people the bridge is made from. This young man breaks free of their grasp and starts to run, and this seems to set all the denizens of the bridge onto him as they move to capture him. He jinxes and scrambles past them along the bridge until something opens it's like a giant rotten flower in front of him, grasps him in membranous covers and shakes as blood and shredded flesh are pumped into the air from a sphincter at the back of its bird-like head. The stuff just fountains out, and in it you can see like recognisable shreds caught in the moment. A toe, a tooth, amazing. A lone eye sits atop the pile of flesh, and it moves in a muscleless method. The pile of flesh is still alive. Fuck. I laugh literally out loud, and everything stops for a moment, as my outburst causes a shockwave to fly through the beasts. Some break and fall. Some hide from the noise and cower. A moment later, horror things in silence turn all in my direction. Tentacles, tails, and bits of lots of things turn to me. In the weird pause and silence, I feel I have to, explain why I was laughing. That thing. I point at the monster that had just torn up the boy. It was a circle of wet membranes held on bones like a fucked up umbrella that had grabbed the kid. Its heads were, the best I can do is vulture-like with teeth and too many eyes on each head and other descriptive phrases describing really disgusting things. It seemed to actually look a little bit nervous when I was talking about it. I don't know how I could read a hell thing's body language and mannerisms, but somehow I could. That thing's like a living wood chipper, I told my weird audience. I gathered by my lack of reaction from them that they didn't know what a wood chipper was. In cases like this, I did my usual and went to make up sign language to help explain. You know, I mimed, feeding something into the air. I made a shredding up wood noise. Well, it was more a chainsaw noise and pretended to show the chippings being thrown out at the end. I laughed again out of reflex. Ha ha! It was as though the beasts had been hit by a huge amount of heat that would melt them. It was wild. It was like watching, wax melt. Some died, some ran. Most screeched and quailed, ripping at their own bodies as though trying to block the sounds from whatever they used to listen to. God, I wish Fen was here. This was proper brilliant. I was having fun and happy, and I don't think I was supposed to be feeling that way here. I was the stuff of these, I suppose, what are they? Demon nightmares, and they backed away now as the noise and screams returned. Nothing came near me. The things were fucking scared. I grabbed a small spider-like thing from the ground and held it in my hand. Let's just say it was a spider-like thing. It was made up of teeth, hair, bones, bits, fingers, blah, 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 blah. I couldn't see how it was stuck together if it was stuck together. It had a human eye in the middle of some, like, tentacle orangey type things that were pulsing at me, and it fucking stank. The fucked up, beautifully green irised human eye turned to look at me, and I smiled. The little thing convulsed, and the eye hid in the tentacles. Amazing. That made me laugh at it. Its genuine fear, and it shivered and shook as though little explosions were going on inside it, and then it just fell apart, squealing and screeching as it shattered and liquefied in my hand. I stared. I mean, it was no gunky horribleness, but I knew what this meant. Oh fuck, was I going to have some fun? And that only made me happier. I was going to torment the torturing tormentors. My demons were going to suffer my joy. I hurt and killed many. I laughed at them and the fucking absurdity of them being scary. They ran, well, they tried to get away, and I followed as they ran towards the city. Those who could not outrun me died in my delight as I giggled and cavorted, capered and japered at their destruction, touching one here that would collapse into sludge, stamping on a little one there and loving it. The human soul stood still and unsure. They did nothing. So they weren't any fun. Now don't think me too bad. I did try and tell a few people. They hate happiness. You can kill them with laughter, I told them. They didn't join in with the fun though. They were still proper miserable cunts, so fuck them. As I got to the end of the bridge, I noticed that the creatures who had scuttled up the walls of the people had gone. Those that could not scuttle up the walls were now either crunchy puddles of sludge by my hand or had jumped over the sides of the bridge to escape me. I finally stood before the gates of hell. Fucking hell. Rodin had got it right in his sculpture. Google it, for fuck's sake, if you can. Alexa, describe Rodin's hell gates. These gates were that sculpture. Maybe, again, I mentally made them look like that as I knew what that representation of the gates of hell looked like, but whatever, they looked just like him. I stood in front of them for a while, noticing, unlike in Rodin's work, that the figures sculpted into the gates were actually moving and writhing in agony. It was like a proper 3D TV. God, this place was fucking awesome. Above the gates, sort of weirdly, something was written in pink neon letters that kind of looked out of place. Abandon all hope, ye who enter. It was all like Dante-esque, apart from some of the letters weren't working, and the lit sign read anal ho without them. Well, either someone had a sense of humour here or there was a lack of electricians in hell. The Thinker, another great Rodin sculpture, sat as a centrepiece in the transom of the doors. He was crying his little eyes out, and his tears fell to the ground before me. I always wondered if he was like having sad thoughts or happy thoughts or whatever. Seems like he was having shit thoughts, to be really. I noticed a button next to the door. It had definitely not been there a moment ago. It was entirely out of context in this organic world. It was circular, brushed steel, and reminded me of a button to summon an elevator in a block of council flats. Now, some would say that I would be stupid to press the button, not knowing the consequences of the action, but you know how it is. I mean, hell, temptation and all that. That's what this place is all about, is it not? I pressed it and something went ding. An inorganic ding of a small bell, and I could hear what sounded like like a lift coming up a lift shaft. It took fucking ages for the elevator to arrive. I mean, honestly, the service in this place was really poor. Not that I suppose I can leave a review anywhere. I can't imagine that TripAdvisor has a hell page. I should check that though. The sculpture's doors swept apart and they revealed a brushed steel lift interior that looked like one out of a set of council flats. And of course, the Girl of Ipanema elevator version began to play. Brilliant. I walked in. One of the side walls of the metal box room had hundreds and hundreds of different sized buttons, switches, dials, and lights of all types on it. It reminded me of the glass elevator in Willy Wonka Wants Charlie's Chocolate Factory, and I just noticed, leaning in the far left corner, of course, was a person. Let's say it was a very feminine figure in a clinging black silk dress that dress really knew how to do the clinging. It clung on her just right, if you know what I mean, hiding her body in such a way as to make it totally tantalising. It was doing its job so well that if she'd actually been stood naked in front of me, it would have not been as sexually evocative as this. The dress was split from foot to thigh, and long, luscious legs ended in black stiletto shoes. Dark hair fell like brushed satin from her head to cover her ashen skin. Her eyes, I couldn't see them at the time. They were hidden from me by the curtains of that falling, voluminous black mane, which became a cave that partially hid features that were partial perfection from this disguised point of view. She wore no chains, rings, or brooches. She wore no jewellery or accessories to highlight her. She was just the highlight. I was staring. I mean, I couldn't help it. She was, my brain had definitely slipped a gear. She was busy checking her phone and seemed engrossed in its content, so I felt it would be a bit rude to bother her and took my naked self to the right-hand back corner of the lift opposite her. I had no idea what I looked like. I mean, I'd nearly been through hell and was all naked and covered in lots of stuff. It's not my best look, and probably not the right time to try and engage this beauty in conversation. I felt that she could not be frightened of me in any way, though. Weird, I know, but confidence oozed from that corner. So I stood with my back to the lift wall and sighed, listening to that beautiful tune. I was looking around and just trying to find something interesting when I looked up and saw the shit fluorescent lights in the broken ceiling panel.
What floor?
Came a seductive voice with a French accent. I realised eventually that she was talking to me.
What floor?
Now, looking at me in an annoyed fashion. In response, I did that really cool thing of looking around me as though there were other people there, and then pointing to myself in silence to see if she was talking to me or not. Really cool.
Yes, you. What floor?
She repeated, a semi-huff being evident in her voice. I pulled that facial shrug you do when you're trying to communicate the fact that you don't know but feel too stupid to say it. She turned away from me, sighed, and pressed a button without looking. The lift started its journey once more.
You will, right?
She asked, still engrossed in her phone. I was a little flustered, and my grasp of reality was a little light at this point, so I smiled and nodded. Yeah, that's me, I croaked. Then she looked at me. I mean, it was something else. She stared into my eyes, and it felt like centuries passed in that brief moment. She saw all of me. Nothing was now hidden from her. She had seen everything I'd done. She broke through all those mental barriers that protected me. She had everything I'd ever felt and done, everything. Then the eye contact was broken, and she laughed. I now felt so much more naked than I did before.
Well, aren't you different?
She said in general good humour while going back to her phone screen. I didn't have an answer for her. I know it sounds shit, but What do you say to that kind of question?
I am called Lucy.
She said, pausing to make eye contact.
Fur.
She continued. I nodded, smiling, and waited for her to finish. She seemed very expectant. I didn't know what for. Maybe she wanted me to ask why she was called Lucy. So dumbass here did. You're called Lucy for what? I asked, shrugging. I mean, it's a really nice name, Lucy. Her face took a look of stunned puzzlement as she tried to work out what the fuck I meant. And then she laughed.
You are so funny. No, I am Lucy Fur.
As she spoke, I listened and nodded. For what? I asked. Her face contorted. Could I really be this stupid? Exasperated now, she tried again.
Now listen to me carefully. I will say this only once.
She said, patting me on the hand. The following sentence was delivered very deliberately, and she checked my understanding by frequently pausing to make sure I got it.
Now listen to me carefully. I am Lucifer Morningstar. You know, the devil, the great corrupter, and other such things.
She finished, nodding at me and continuing to pat my hand in a conciliatory way. It then finally clicked in my head. Oh, right, I see, I said. Is that it? Oh, right, okay. It's the end of the episode. Thank you, ladies, gentlemen, and others for listening, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you liked it, please share and review and download and do all those cool things. Remember, in the link, in the description, there are links that take you to social media and things like that, and books. And to those people who've gone to the support the show link or have actually subscribed, you're great, you're fantastic. Thank you very much. It means we expand and get better and bigger and have more fun with it, to be honest, and hopefully that fun goes across to you. Thank you especially today to Dawn, Yvonne and Greg. Absolutely fantastic work. Thank you very much. And welcome on board Arian, who is helping out now as well. The show is getting much, much bigger, and it's worryingly mature and professional now. So thank you, everybody, especially the listeners out there, for liking this crazy thing that we do. Love you loads.
But
Bye.
I know just what I do. Angel, he calls me, does he know that I'm falling from the precipice that I tripped off long ago? If so, beauty says, does he know I'm forsaken, the original?